told me where to set up. Oh, you got the camera already set up? Good. Keep it on that, not on me.
Do you want me to tilt the screen so you have a view?
Say again?
You mean tilt the screen so you have a view?
Because so.
Okay, we're gonna be getting started here probably in a little bit. So come on up.
Can we get like a wireless thing? Do we have any fancy stuff? do. We have our gas mics up with the lapel mic.
Would you like it? I can give it to you.
Are we ready?
Hello, everybody. You ready to go here? Oh, good. Only is also very proud of our accomplishments and what we've done from a perspective of state contractors. I mean, our OSHA safety record has been outstanding over the last 20 or 25 years. We have really improved to the world-class facility that we are. And South Carolina OSHA has been a huge part of that. I mean, who better to use as a liaison to help us through the issues that we may have on a day-to-day basis than OSHA? And, you know, I've been in the industry for a long time, many of you have too. Typically, the day the OSHA comes to visit, knocks on the door, is a bad day. Well, it isn't here. You could pick up a phone and call OSHA to help you with an issue. What's better than that? And that's the relationship that we have. We're so thankful for. And that's why we're so thankful that OSHA has picked us, our facility, to have a tremendous celebration today. So please join me in welcoming Kristina Baker to get us started. Kristina is the Deputy Director of Labor for South Carolina OSHA. Welcome, Kristina.
Thank you so much. Mike, before you sit down, I just want to publicly say thank you to both you and Nucor, to Scott for everything that you guys have continued to do with us and for. So I was told that South Carolina OSHA is turning 50. And you know, they say 50 is what the new 30, the new 20. But what I can tell you is that South Carolina OSHA is a proud part of the state of South Carolina. And for 50 years, we have partnered with employers like Nucor and others around the state to ensure that South Carolina's employees are safe. And that is not going to stop now that we are 50 years old. We're not old and decrepit, right? We are going to continue that push today. And so in doing that, we are always trying to think outside of the box, right? Try to think of new things to help employees and employers in this state to continue to be safe. And so one of those things Shannon and I talked about, we are always talking about webinars and how we put this information out, but also how do we move around the state of South Carolina? And so we have decided that with falls being a huge part of what we see in terms of fatalities and just injuries on the job site, then why not have a fall safety truck? And so today, in partnership always with Nucor and other employees and employers around the state, we want to unveil that truck for you guys today. So y'all get to see it before anybody else. Uh-oh, I hear it. I think it's coming. So if you hear the signs and you look behind you, you will see the new safety stand-down fall truck. It's getting escorted and everything. And so we thought it to be very, very important, right, to be able to share this not only with, you know, on our 50th anniversary, but here with you guys today. And as Mike has said, you know, we value our relationship with you all, and I do think it is a big deal that we're here today. And so we thank you guys for the opportunity to be here. We want to continue that partnership. As I mentioned, yes, it's 50 years, but we're looking for 50 more and 50 more. Yeah, we want, all these pictures, this fall protection truck. We want people to see this years and years from now. And so once again, thank you so much. Are we going, oh, you know what? I almost forgot. So one of the other great things about being is you can, come up with your own slogan, do things your way, right? And so this year, for the 50th anniversary, we have come up with the slogan, keep calm and stay safe. And so we actually have shirts that all of you will be able to get after today's training. They'll be in the back. We have blue and white and blue. We have green and white in addition to bags, right? So once again, just another small way to show our appreciation. But I hope you understand and realize that this partnership is crucial to us. And we really do believe in the work that we're doing and the work that you guys do every day. So thank you so much. Uh-oh. One more thing, I'm told. Oh, yes. Yes. So also, we have a beautiful banner that was made. And so we would really love if you guys would sign it on your way out. We want to be able to keep this, once again, memories, right? You don't turn 50 every day. And so the idea is that we'll be able to keep this for years and years to come. So thank you again. And I'm not going to stop the training any longer. Obviously, the reason why you guys are here is we're going to do 50 minutes of safety training for our stand down. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Joseph Crow.
What do you want? Yeah, I'm good. All right, well, good afternoon. How's everyone doing? I'm going to have to walk around the movie because obviously I won't be able to hear you guys. And I know they're saying it's supposed to be a training session, but I really just want to have a discussion. And I want to just talk to you. And then as we go through, what I want to do is we're going to look at some pictures, we're going to look at some photos, and we're going to talk a little bit about fall protection. So, where's Scott? I think Scott is going. All right. First thing I want to do is we're going to talk about basic safety. We're here so that we can discuss workplace safety. And the core of that is protecting workers from the hazards associated with their job. We're talking about one of those hazards today, and that's on fall protection. So as we go through, there's a few things I want to definitely point out as we do this. And so hopefully you won't have any issues as we talk about this. Originally, I was going to talk about general industry and construction. We are going to look at some of that, but it's my understanding with you guys, you're pretty much going to observe that 4-foot rule, which comes from general industry, and that's perfectly fine. Nevertheless, we're going to talk about some of the options when we look at some of these photographs as we go through it. So our objective today is we're going to look at what some of the sources of these fall hazards are. For example, what working surfaces or walking surfaces you guys might find yourselves on, the types of equipment that you guys might be on. Earlier today, some of you were out there on an aerial lift, right? So when you're going to have that type of equipment, fixed ladders, sometimes portable ladders, we have to be concerned about falls. We also are going to talk about the options for fall protection. So we're going to look at that. We're going to talk about the employee's responsibility, the employee's responsibility in that, and we're going to look at a couple of case studies as we go through. Some of them, I don't want to show that video or let it play out, but we will look at a few case studies, and I'm going to ask you guys a few questions. So I'm probably going to have to walk around, point a few people out, and get some feedback from you. So who wants to be my guinea pig? First one. What's up with this young lady right here? You, ma'am, stand up for me. Now, I like to do that, so y'all gonna have to bear with me. The fellow right over there, yes, sir. At the table, second table, in front of you. Yeah, that guy right there. Stand up for me. So, my question to you guys is, if we're gonna protect people from a fall hazard, what's the very first thing we need to do? Talk about it. Okay, so I have a discussion about it. What say you, sir? He sat down on us, didn't he? I guess he figured he was going to hide in the crowd or something. What's the first thing we're going to do? We're going to protect workers from fall hazards. Need to know the height that we're working from. All right, I like those responses. Let's come right here. You, sir. 4 years. Yes, sir. Have a plan in place. I like that. 3 good responses. Let's go ahead and over the 4. This last table, you, sir, you're looking back. Look forward. Yes, sir, you. What's the first thing we're going to do? We're going to protect people from a fall hazard. Train everyone. I like every last one of those. Here's the deal. We said that a fall hazard basically is going to be your source of injury, right? We're talking about workplace safety. We're going to protect people from those hazards. First thing we want to do if we're going to protect people from hazards is we got to figure out where the hazards are, right? So that means we got to do some kind of assessment of that workplace. We know we're talking about falls, but even if we know that's what we're dealing with, we need to figure out every place where these people might be exposed to it. We want to take into account the heights of those falls. We want to make sure we communicate with those people. We definitely need a plan, and we need to make sure that everybody's on board. And training is going to be a very important part of that process. So when we look at these things, we're going to identify those hazards. We want to also look at the nature. What does that mean when we're saying that a fall hazard has nature? Any of you ever heard of that before? Talking about the nature of a fall hazard? How many of you use harnesses in here? I saw some folks go up in a lift. Any of those people out here? What does that mean when we talk about the nature of a hazard? Come back so I can hear you. You said you raised your hand too quick? Or you didn't put it down fast enough? Which one was it? All right. Okay. All right, who else works with you? Everybody out here? Directly with you on your same crew? Who else is on your crew? You? What do you think? Add to what you did. What's your opinion on that? But what does that nature of the hazard mean right there? What's the benefit? If you know the nature of a fall hazard, how does that benefit that trainee if you're being trained? How does it benefit you to know the nature of a fall hazard? And I like what you guys are saying about that. Were you trying to see anything? You know what to look out for, right? Good. One of the things we need to do is we don't need to be reactive. We need to be more proactive, right? That means we get ahead of it. The idea is we would much rather prevent somebody from being exposed to or injured from a fall than always reacting to it. Because if we're reacting to it, that means people are getting exposed, and more likely than not, people are going to be getting injured. So we're trying to prevent that stuff from happening. The nature of the hazard, if you know that information, if you have that information, it tells you not only where these hazards are going to be encountered, but how they're going to be established. What kind of equipment is going to be associated with it, like an area lift or a scissor lift. What type of work surfaces will it be associated with? Do I have to go into the mezzanine? Do I need to go into the roof? Because I might have to service, let's say HVAC equipment, might have to do some maintenance, repair work, whatever it is. So it's going to tell us how this hazard is going to be established, where we're going to encounter it. It might also give us information about the severity of that hazard. And if we have that information, we need to include that in the training for multiple reasons. Number one, you're required to. In construction, as well as in general industry, one of the things it requires is that when you train personnel, you have to address the nature of the fall hazard so that these people will have that information. But you also want to not only have that because of the requirement in the standard, but also so that person can play an important part in their own safety. if you know what type of hazards that you're going to be exposed to, then you can arrive to that work area already having a good idea of what the protective systems I'm going to have to use on. So we want to make sure that we have that basic information. After we've identified those hazards, we've assessed those things, we've done an analysis. Now we need to figure out what the appropriate measures are. And we're going to do this before we actually train. So you can and we want to do this before we train because part of our training is on the equipment we're going to use, right? If we're training on fall protection, not actually addressing the fall protection systems we're using, then what good is that training? I need to be prepared, not only in that environment, but for the system that I need to use. So I need to know how to use that system. If it's on it on, I need to know how it's going to operate in those pitfalls and all that stuff so I can avoid them. The more I need to know the limitations. Program, we're going to look at that in a second and we're going to talk about that. Everybody understand that. On all elementary, you think when I was in elementary school, my mother took me and signed me up for football. They took me there, you got there, you got these, you know, you got your pants and all. My day, had a so-called jock strap, and they told you had to go buy that thing, and I remember my mother purchasing it and giving it to me, and I'm thinking, these are funny looking drawers, and I had no one to do with it. Clearly, he doesn't know what to do with this thing. He doesn't know how to put it on. That's a problem, especially if you're already in an environment where supposedly you're supposed to be prepared to use this system. This makes me think about one time I was doing a follow-up inspection in Greenville. And it actually was a fixed ladder. And they decided to have a safety system. And part of that requires you to have a harness, right? You're going to have the hat, basically a vertical line. You're going to have that carrier system. The top requested of them was to that. I asked a question. How are you going to connect? Well, I didn't know I needed anything. That means that they were not connected to anything, which basically means they were in the same situation before they spent all of that money on that system. You got to have all that if you're going to follow the dimensions. So when it comes to training, you got to train. It's required. What you guys are going to have to comply with is probably going to fall under the dimension. First off, the program, hazard. Number two, to minimize those that they should be able to recognize. Earlier we said, if I said you got to train, it's also necessary for those hazards. Because if they don't recognize the hazards they're exposed to, they may not implement the protective system. You've been through this country, throughout this country, you know that in different regions, people speak a lot different. People use different words. You've been in the service. You know that you use service that you don't use in the civilian. So if you're going through a training process, you have to do it in a manner so that people understand. If you don't, then how is that training? We must be able to communicate in that. In the industry, you have to be trained by hazards that we've already talked about. That's super important. If you're not addressing the nature of those fall hazards, you are not providing a good service individuals who are getting trained. Second, basically, it's going to combine everything that you're going to be directing or installing, maintaining, inspecting, disassembling. All of those have to be trained in that. That way, that person knows exactly how to put on a harness, for example. They got to be trained in the correct use and operation of that particular fall protection system that they're going to be using. Oftentimes, you'll find that people will go through some general training, but they don't address the specifics that they need to. Of course, we want to make sure that that happens. And then construction doesn't have the role of a safety monitoring management system, limitations on using mechanical equipment, storing and handling of equipment and things like that, because we know whenever you have a fall hazard, and you're gonna have people working from elevated position, if they're gonna have materials and tools and stuff like that, you also have a falling object hazard, and if they drop whatever that is, those individuals can be struck by those things. So you gotta address that. And you have to be trained in the regulatory items itself. So in this case, some part here for construction, some part D for general use. So the first thing I want to remind you guys about is this. If we're going to be working in an elevated position and we're going to potentially be exposed to a fall hazard, we have to make sure that beyond the fact that we got missing guardrails on here, but we got to make sure that that surface that we're going to stand on, that it has sufficient integrity and strength to support that person, the materials and tools and supply that they're going to put on that thing. So for some capacity, you have to make sure that that is addressed. And this one is not. It has missing components. There's also boards on there that look questionable. It looks like it's beginning to rot. And obviously, if people have to go through any kind of service or maintenance, then those maintenance persons are going to be vulnerable to this thing collapsing. So whenever you're talking about falls, you cannot just talk about make sure that you put on the harness, make sure that you close the gate on the system level. You have to approach it comprehensively, and you got to approach it with multiple directions, including make sure it doesn't collapse while you're on it. So we got to make sure that it supports you. Now, we're not going to pay attention to the fact that this is construction. We're going to ignore some of the other things that you see there. We're going to focus on one thing, and that is the fall hazard aspect of it. What is the proper solution to protect this guy from the fall that he's exposed to? What's the proper solution? Say it. Get an aerial lift. Get another piece of equipment. One of the first things you want to do is make sure that people select the correct piece of equipment for the job. That's true not only with something like this, it's true also when it comes to ladders, scissors lifts, aerial lifts, all of those things. Get the right piece of equipment for that job. This is another example. They didn't have the correct equipment, so they got onto the roof, but they ended up having to go in and get the equipment, rough terrain lifts, so that they could do that work. This one, I'm basically showing it to remind you, use what's available. In this situation, this guy was on the interior of that. There was a means where you could get from that upper level down to the lower level where you could simply walk out the building, correct this ladder because that ladder is incorrect, push it up, make sure it's secure, all that kind of stuff, and then he could have came up that ladder. But instead, he's doing what a lot of us like to do, and that is take shortcuts. And his buddy there is trying to help him out by giving him the level of the grab and the hold on. Don't do anything like that. Not take shortcuts. Use the equipment, the correct equipment that's available to you. This would be a video. I'm not going to show it to you, but I'm going to describe it. Right here, that's a fellow standing up here. This is an elevated walkway. This is about 10 feet above the lowest slab on grade. This guy's standing up on the guardrails and he's working on that piece of equipment. One of my co-workers did his inspection. During the process where he was removing components, basically this chute, it fell, it struck him while he's over there standing. You can see his feet right there, and it knocked him off, and he basically tumbled down. Something more than 15 feet, maybe 18 feet or whatever the case. So here's my question. In this situation, what needed to have been done to prevent this person from being exposed to that fall and suffering an actual fall? Second, use a scalpel. What else? What else could have been done? Clearly, you can't stand on the guardrail. If you stand on a guardrail, that's basically creating another platform, is elevated, and it's temporary, which is the definition of a scalpel. And the scalpel has to be at least 18 inches wide, unless it's one of those that have an exception where they can only be 12 inches wide. That is not any one of those. got two options. Number one, you can either move that machine as long as it doesn't interfere with the production, or they're gonna have to engineer another solution by expanding that platform. There's a ladder there that's useless because where he's standing, there's no way for him to set that thing up. This requires an initial assessment. It requires planning. It requires people to think this stuff through beforehand, because if you don't, the personnel are going to try to get that work done. That's how we are as Americans. We want to get it done. In this situation, he tried to get it done, but he ended up falling in excess of 15 feet. So all of this stuff can be avoided, but we have to think about it ahead of time. Sorry about that. Can y'all not hear me? You got another area. Maintenance workers, they have to go everywhere, right? They got to do everything in a lot of facilities. They manufacture guards, they make modifications, additions, and everything, right? In this situation, maintenance guy has to go up there, as a piece of equipment, they go up this elevated platform, and that's the ladder. The ladder looks questionable itself. Matter of fact, it should be using this ladder. Nevertheless, he's going to go up there about 7 to 8 feet, exposed to other hazards, namely this drive system, and he has a very small area to work from. Obviously, in this situation, they're going to have to modify this, or they're going to have to figure out another way for this person to get up there to do their work. We see clearly on any kind of elevated runways and things like that, you're supposed to have an intact guardrail system. Wherever you're going to be using a ladder and you're going to gain access to those things, typically it's best to have a gate that you step through and closes behind you. We see that clearly that's missing on here, but certainly that's something that they would need. What's our problem here? They need stair rails? These stair rails over here? What about this? It's too steep? All right. So let's say it might be above that 50-degree angle, right? They're supposed to be between 30 and 50 degrees. Let's say it's at 49 degrees today. All right. From a fall hazard perspective, is this good? It has everything? No. Yeah, it still needs some type of intermediate, big rail, etc. So when we look at these steps, you have any kind of steps, it's the number of rises. In the industry, 4 rises, 3 trans, construction, 4 rises, or it rises up to 30 inches. Either way, 4 rises. That's a vertical part of the step. So if you got 4 of those or more, then you got to have a stair rail system to keep you from falling off from the sides. Same thing here, right? What this depicts, though, is several things. Obviously, these steps, they do have those 4 rises, but we also do see some rails there that are in use whenever you're going to have an elevated runway. But even if you don't have it elevated, you're going to be able to walk in a working surface that's adjacent to dangerous equipment. Regardless of the height, there's going to have to be some protection. It may not be from the fall, but it might be from what the fall introduces you to, which in this case could be the contents of that tank, or whatever it is. Same thing here. If you're going to have machinery and people are going to have a walkway that's adjacent to it or above it, you got to protect them from fall. So with general industry, if you're going to be above 4 feet, typically you can look at additional fall protection, guardrail systems. Less than that, guardrails or some type of equipment cover or guard on it. Switch mic. Okay. Now I can't walk around, so you guys are going to really have to speak up, because I certainly won't be able to hear you from up here. Same thing here. You got a machine, hopper. Obviously, if somebody falls into that thing, that could be dangerous. So certainly we want to make sure that we have a guardrail system in place. So dangerous equipment, regardless to the height, from what the fall might cause you to be exposed to. Holes. There are often holes in certain places. We need to be mindful about that. If you have any type of roofs and you got maintenance people who have to go up there, in this case, this person had to go up there to make a repair to one of those skylights. This skylight, unfortunately, is not always visible to these to people, and sometimes these things are such that it kind of blends in with the rest of the surface. A skylight is recognized as a hole. So if you do have a hole, you need to make sure that you're protected from it, either some type of cover that's going to provide adequate support, a guardrail system, or a person can actually use a harness set up as a restraint system that can keep them from falling into it. Unfortunately, this person did fall through while they were making a repair to it to prevent some leaks. This person went up here, and this person was just trying to clean off the roof, and could not see those things or did not recognize those falling, unfortunately. So always recommend, especially if any of you have to go onto these and things of that nature. Fixed ladders. We know our fixed ladders, the requirement for fall protection was changed with 24 feet. So if that ladder, if you're gonna have a fall hazard of 24 feet, then you gotta have some type of fall protection on it. For an existing ladder, you can still have that cage and well up until 2034. If you're gonna have any kind of replacement on any part of that, then you're gonna have to replace those components or those parts and then bring it up to the new standard requirements, which is actually gonna be fall protection. So a personal fall arrest system or some type of ladder safety system is gonna be required on that. In this situation, you see this ladder and we can see this flexible carrier, but the problem with this thing is you see this down here is loose. If you have a carrier, whether it's going to be rigid or if it's going to be flexible, it's going to have to be mounted at the top and at the bottom, and I think every 25 feet to make sure that this thing will be able to contain that person if he or she does fall. So in this situation, it was not secured or attached down near the bottom. If you have to go through hatches, those hatches, when they're open, they're basically a hole. That's a fall hazard. So obviously, the easiest solution to go up there is to do what? Close it, right? Can you still use a harness? Guard it. Absolutely. You can put a guardrail around it. Obviously, you can have a gate on there. And of course, you can have some that are removable so that if you need to bring those components through that, you can. But you can also have that person use a harness, actually set it up as a restraint system to keep him or her from falling through. Any elevated surfaces, we just want to make sure that those things are going to be properly guarded, especially their walkways and things like that. That's requirements. Obviously, top rail, mid rail, top rail typically is going to be 42. Mid rail is going to be halfway, so normally about 21, but they have strength requirements that they have to meet. So if you're withstanding a 200-pound force in the outward or downward direction, and obviously